we are a couple weeks away. Seats are going fast. I got the update from Allison. What was it yesterday, Al? So we're definitely going to have a jam-packed room. Looking forward to seeing everybody in Cleveland in a couple weeks. If you guys are not familiar or understand what we're talking about, you can go to Agent to CEO CLE. As we're bringing Agent to CEO to Cleveland, and also the opportunity for us to be there is really piggybacking your event, Al, Rock and Rescue, which is just a tremendous event that is such a meaningful cause. And for us just to be able to come there and bring a lot of real estate agents into an Agent to CEO event is really secondary to what you're doing with Rock and Rescue. So excited to kick that off here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, man. And one of our favorite Cleveland marketing experts, Ryan Young, is generously sponsoring our event with his awesome venture that's just really setting it on fire. Every top agent that I know, not just at EXP, and every brand is really leveraging Fello. We're going to dip into that and find out, why and how. And we obviously have some of our own opinions as to why this is working so well, but we're going to dig in deep with Ryan. Appreciate you being here, buddy.
Yeah, man, I'm super excited. And dude, I just love that you're putting Cleveland on the map as always. So it just puts a smile on my face. It's like me and Al go so far back, and I just love seeing people from the hometown doing big things.
Yeah, well, we're watching each other. That's for sure, man. I remember our first meeting. I think you reached out to me just cold and been like, hey, man, can we have some lunch? And we met downtown, and it was one of the most.
I'm going to call bullshit real quick. We didn't meet downtown. You ghosted me for like 3 years. And then you got a text. Then I got a text back like, oh, so sorry. I didn't see this message or whatever. And then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. I think that was Mark Zuckerberg hiding that Facebook message from behind maybe. But, I just, been watching you absolutely kick ass in Cleveland, and now on an international level with Fello. And so yeah, right back at you, man. It was just great, listening to before you blew up and that you were who you are today, like you were so humble. It was one of the best conversations that I had, because we all know that unfortunately or fortunately, our business is led with ego a lot. And it's like when you sit down, Ryan, it's there. It doesn't exist. You have the most humble guy who's like genuinely interested in me. And I believe that that's one of the biggest secrets to your success. If you didn't know it, now you know it. So, man,
I remember you had that cool spot. You had that loft in it was on in Asia Town or something like that. And it was like super cool. It's like, and now that area is blowing up. So
that was the edge of Cleveland State University. We had appointments today. In fact,
appointments today. That's right.
That was when we were making all the calls for Mike and Jay's downpayment.org product that you guys were selling. You remember that?
Yeah. Can we not talk about that?
Certain things that we don't talk about here. Hey, but what we do want to talk about, Ryan, like you do have such a unique perspective, being a rock star agent yourself, but also to what Al was alluding to, having one of the best products in the industry. So you do have a unique perspective to be able to give, kind of where you see the market and where you see the market heading. So would love for you to kind of unpack, your perspective and your viewpoint from where we're at.
Yeah. I mean, I think, the clear obvious is you're seeing the transition or migration from buyer side business to, really becoming intentional on the listing side. And I think a lot of people, over the past decade, we just became so obsessed and infatuated with the acquisition of buyer leads, right? It was like Zillow, I remember when they had like the little map on the back of Zillow, and you like could scroll up and see how many impressions I would get if I like kept increasing my budget, and you'd watch your competitors' faces like drop below yours. And it was like, I mean, they gamified it so strategically and intelligently that like buyer lead acquisition became just this massive way that a lot of us scaled our businesses, right? And I think, the challenge with that is ultimately there was never any true intention or strategy around the transition or migration of like, how do you transition a buyer-based business to a listing-based business? And, Al and me in Cleveland, my business has always been listing based. There are very few though, a lot of you guys know rate really well. It's how a lot of us started. I started moving onto radio and television and, really going deep into the guaranteed sale. So my business always, skipped the buyer lead acquisition and always went heavy seller based. But I think what you're starting to see now is that all these agents are sitting there with these massive databases of buyer leads that they've acquired over the past decade, and they don't really have a strategy around it. So what you're starting to see is a lot of intentionality around database cultivation, not just on the seller side, but just in general. And how do you start driving revenue out of these existing assets that you've already built, right, that you've invested into? And I think that's where you're starting to see a lot of shift into our industry, not just listings, but also really reducing down that new lead expense and really doubling down on what you've already acquired and really into your database. And the way I kind of look at it is we're fortunate. We work with right now about 2,000 of the top teams all over the country. We've been in business for about 2 years, and you're starting to see, I always talk about, do you rent or do you own your business? And when I say that, it's like, do you have assets in your business, or are you currently living paycheck to paycheck, new lead to new lead, right? And I think you're starting to see the teams that have assets, whether it's a brand, whether it's a website that has a significant amount of unique visitors every month, whether it's some sort of proprietary YouTube. Like I know some people that run big YouTube businesses that drive a significant amount, but they own that asset, right? Your database you own, your website, the domain you own. I think you're starting to see people are stop investing less into other people's brands, like portals and stuff like that, and starting to move more into the investment of assets that they can actually monetize, or that produces dividends for a long time to come.
Yeah, Ryan, I was reminded of an old Ryan Dice quote. I mean, I read it about 3 weeks ago, and it just has been sticking with me every dang day. And it's exactly what you guys did, right? And the quote or the comment was, most people, they think that they have a traffic problem, but in reality, they have an offer problem.
For sure.
And I think 100%. That's where you guys uniquely saw the opportunity, like you said, to these databases. And it's like, man, we don't have a lead problem, dude. We just got an offer situation. We got an offer problem. And I think if a lot of agents would think that way, and it's like, dude, man, we've got a lot of leads, right? We've paid for, we've invested, we've done all of this stuff, cultivated into these CRMs, these tools, right? That we've all, especially with us, as long as we've been in, I mean, we've had them all, right? We had, you name it, we had them, we had every one of them. And so I think when you look at these agents that have been in for so long, it's like, okay, well, we got all these opportunities, these leads, that people that we can engage with, but what's the offer that needs to be made to these opportunities right now?
Well, what's funny is the offer was really only relevant on the seller side for forever, right? What's interesting is with the settlement, all of a sudden the offer on the buy side is really important and relevant as well, because the buy side of the business is now moving from more relational to more transactional. Okay. And so I think the offer is super important when you're talking about transactional style of business. Here's what I see on the seller side, and this is what Fello really got right. We love the home value message, but we only like it to get people in the funnel. Okay. And we like it to keep them incubated in the funnel. What I think the biggest misconception around home value is it's a low intent message, right? It's not saying someone wants to sell their home, but I think agents approach home value leads is like, well, I'm calling them and no one wants to sell their home. Well, it's like, that's not even what they came in on, right? The key is to bring them in the top of the funnel through the home value message. I really we do a guaranteed offer message or guaranteed sale still, cash offer. I really like dropping that cash offer message right below the home value. So we drive them in with the home value message, which has a much larger capture rate. So I'm really going wide. That home value message is relevant to any homeowner, right? If you own a home and you see, are you curious what your home's worth? That message is relevant to you to get you in the funnel. The key is, though, you got to start bringing more compelling, more attractive, more middle to bottom of funnel messaging below. And so what we do is we keep bringing them back through the home value message and then keep dangling that cash offer message right below it to start getting them or pushing them down the funnel. And that's where we've had so much success converting through the database, and actually like we resuscitate the database, all these old buyer leads with home value, and then we get them to take action or raise their hand and say, I'm actually interested in selling my home through that cash offer. Has been a really good one for us.
Jay, speak to kind of what Ryan had mentioned, going down the path, really cutting obviously with rate, right? Started rate, like what, the reason, hey, let's focus around this guaranteed, home sale offer type of offer to motivated sellers. Kind of unpack, why that message is so important, because to Ryan's point, I mean, we understand that fundamentally, but there's so many dang agents, especially the agents that have been reactive over the last few years, now getting in for a majority of them uncharted territory and waters of understanding, okay, I got to step back and really, think about this differently. What is my value proposition? What is my offer? How do I, craft a message that resonates in today's market? I think if you can fundamentally unpack that, would be really beneficial for all of the agents listening in.
Yeah, I mean, it was 2004, I think, when we started Rate, and I did like everybody else. I finally went from chasing business to attracting business. I went from an outbound approach to an inbound approach. And what I realized was, with radio specifically, and I was doing billboards, radio, newspaper, I was running editorial, I was doing everything. But what I realized was that there's a certain audience of people that if you become professionally relevant, that will refer you, and they have never met you. People that don't even know you start to trust you through your messaging, through your consistent, being in front of them, and you start to get mind share. But even still, those people, and it's the same thing what Ryan's talking about with Fello and the database. Like, that doesn't mean that they're going to do business right now, but when it is time to do business, you want to have the right message in front of them so that you're the person they think of and you're the person they come to.
Exactly.
And so, that's, it's frequency, frequency. I think, it's, and everything in marketing is reach and frequency. And we've generated all these leads, but we didn't have a plan for frequency and consistently being in front of them. So when the time to act, when they do become motivated, that, hey, this is, boom, that message is there at the right time. And that's, it was just missing. It was not there. It works in radio and in newspaper. There's certain people that, drive by a billboard every single day. You're making these impressions. And when it's time to sell, they think, hey, I'm going to call you on this guaranteed sell. But, you have this whole database that you're not utilizing, and you're not monetizing, that you're just letting everything kind of fall out the back end. And it's true. That middle of the funnel is extremely important. The offer for a seller will always be, selling my home for the most amount of money. If you can sell your home for cash, that's just a little bit better than the guaranteed sell. But it captures the mind of someone who is ready to do something, or something has happened where they became highly motivated where they weren't before, and they're more likely to respond. So those were always the best leads, somebody who had to sell versus someone who I think I might want to sell, right? And so, but again, the lowest cost way, what Ryan's nailed, is the lowest cost way to build that database is with the universal offer of what your home value is. Whether it's now that you want to sell or a year from now, you want to make sure you have the right offer to, and you've been in front of them enough, being professionally relevant, so that they know who you are, and hopefully you have some mind share, right?
Well, and really quick, just a little cheat code for everyone that's listening. If you really want to take the game to like the elevated level, not only are you going to have that offer, but one of the reasons why I think the young team has done so well, and when I say an asset, I want you to just kind of think through this consumer journey real quick. You hear our radio ads, or you're getting these emails from us about your home value, you see cash offer. Sellers are still going to do their due diligence, right? Like, they're still going to look you up. They're still going to interview multiple agents. So this is what the consumer experience looks like. You hear our ads, you're getting emails from us about your home value, you see our cash offer. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to Google us. And when you Google us, you're going to see 1,200 5-star reviews. Then you're going to see our website first thing, top and center. You're going to click on our website. As soon as you land on our website, the first thing you're going to see is get a guaranteed offer on your home. And so we have this consistent and all these resources and success stories of people's homes that we've bought and people's homes that we've decided not to go with the cash offer and went with the backup cash offer, and people that we sold their home for over asking. And so we have this very succinct message from not only when they hear our ads, not only when they get our emails, but when they type our name in Google to when they land on our website. It's all seller facing. And we've just made a large bet on the seller side of the business. And so it's like, not only do you need to have the offer, right? The offer needs to be compelling, but then you need to be able to back up the offer and be able to instill trust in the consumer before they even decide to pick up the phone and call you. The more you can do that, the more you're going to see that you're going to get phone calls from people that aren't interviewing other agents. They've already done their due diligence. They've established trust, and they already know who they want to work with before they even pick up that phone.
Yep. So true. The people that miss that one little element, none of this stuff works because they don't just call the number on the billboard. They Google you. And if your messaging isn't consistent, if they're landing on a buyer search site, which is what a lot of agents make the mistake of, is they don't have that consistent messaging, and then they don't have, tons of proof to back up what, your offer, then there's trust is lost. People end up not calling, go to somebody else, or you to interrupt. If you're lucky enough to get an interview, you gotta climb a mountain to get that opportunity to win that business.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, buyers search for homes, sellers search for agents, right? Yep. Like buyers search for homes for sale in Cleveland, Ohio. They're not going to find you on your website yet. On the hero of our website, our main website, theyoungteam.com, people are putting search for homes in Cleveland, Ohio. It's like they're not aligned with who's actually the traffic that's being driven there, right? So it's like buyers are getting to your website if you're doing paid ads, stuff like that. They're landing on a landing page deep within your website. They're not getting to the homepage. So the thing that I think is extremely important is you're going deeper from a seller standpoint. And this is even sellers that we're reconverting and we're incubating from our databases. They're still seeing the brand. They're still going to do the research. They're still going to be diligent about identifying who they want to work with because it's more transactional. Does the entire consumer experience for a seller match what you would expect, like from when they Google you to what do they see to when they go to your website to when they pick up the phone and call? Are you going to pick up, or is someone from your organization going to pick up? It's this entire funnel, and we have so many holes in our industry in that funnel that we just let so many sellers out because they get our message, but then they Google us and they can't even find us, right? Mm-hmm. Or they Google us and then they go to our website and there's nowhere to even, communicate or anything that instills the message that we've been articulating to that audience. And it just goes all the way down, all the way to when they call, do we answer, to the scripts we use, to the appointment being set, to how we articulate our value, to listing the property and getting results. And then you just market those results, and it's just this cycle or flywheel of opportunities.
Yep.
So Ryan, I had a quick question. I was writing some notes here. I feel like what you've created is like what we used to, well, not used to, but still coach on. You got a big database of leads and oh my gosh, I have nothing in pending. And, you start to panic. And what we would do is we would deploy what we call a shake the trees campaign. You've taken that concept and put it on steroids is what I think and just do it the right way. My question for you is something that you said earlier, is that you felt, and maybe I might have misunderstood you, but I'd like you to go deeper on it. You said that the buy side, you feel, is going to be going from more relational to more transactional because of the settlement. And where my mind was, is I felt it was like going to be the opposite, because I felt like we had to build more trust. We had to build more superiority. We had to build more authority for them to be able to, get the trust to sign an agreement on that buy side. Whereas before, they didn't have to sign anything. Some did. I know our team, we coached our team to do it, but go deeper. And what you mean is that you feel it's going to go more transactional versus relational.
Yeah. I mean, I think anytime you're talking about compensation and money exchanging hands, and that's a part of the dialogue, it's immediately going to go transactional. I tell my team all the time, and I tell this to agents, if you are concerned or insecure about talking about the financial aspect of the transaction, that means that you are probably insecure about your value proposition, right? And so it's one of those things that I think some of the agents that are really freaking out about asking a buyer to make a financial commitment to them upfront, they're freaking out or they're insecure about it because they're really just struggling to articulate their differentiating, elements between them and other agents, right? And so I think that what we're going to see is, as you start having these conversations with buyers and you're starting to articulate your value and ask to be compensated for the value we provide, all of a sudden now this turns more transactional, because if you can't articulate that value, and I'm saying I want 3%, let's just say that's the magic number, they're going to be like, well, I can call the agent down the street that'll do it for 2.5 or 2 or 1.5 or whatever it is. And so I think what's going to happen is you are going to start to, like, just like what we used to do on the listing side with menus of services, just like when we go on a listing side and we talk about our success stories, here's the people that we've helped, here's how we help them, here's our strategy. I think that all leans into the transactional side of the conversation. And I think that's really where the buyer business is going. We laid out this entire script for our team where we go through and talk about, here are success stories or social proof of people that we've won in multiple offers. Here's success stories or social proof that we've helped them negotiate, buyers negotiate significantly below the asking price. And so we want to leverage those success stories. Here's off-market properties that we've sold in the past 12 months. And we want to show you how we are helping buyers just like you find inventory that isn't visible to the rest of the market. And so this is all more transactional type of conversation. Not that the relational side isn't there as well, but I'm asking for something in return. And because of that, I need to be able to differentiate myself and provide more value, articulate more value than other agents. And that's where I think it goes transactional.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. I mean, I said, and I hope you don't mind, I just literally copied that quote down. And I think it's worth repeating. If you're insecure about having a financial conversation with your buyer, you're probably insecure about your value proposition. Literally, when we end this podcast, I'm hopping in the shower,
100%.
getting dressed, and I'm going to teach a class on the buy side about post-settlement strategies and scripts and dialogues, and really making sure you're nailing your value proposition, and articulating your value. Value unarticulated is value unappreciated. And if the value is unappreciated, money comes into play. Mm-hmm. Money will be questioned. Your fee will be questioned.
Yep.
And so you couldn't have said it better. That was brilliant.
100%.
I share that with the class here in about 3 hours.
It was good. It was really good, Ryan. So you to kind of continue with that, and where Fello was making an offer into the database of, for most people, investing in buyer leads. Where do you see the offer now going to the buy side, that besides looking at properties, right? Being able to see that, because they're able to find that anywhere and everywhere.
I think the biggest thing, what we're discussing internally on the Young team, is off market. And this is where and I'll kind of piggyback or plug Fello really quickly. What Fello does is it helps agents convert their buyers in their database into sellers, into homeowners. So the first thing we do is we find all the homeowners that are in your database that you didn't even know about, and then we start marketing to them and creating engagement. And the reason why I think this is really important is when it comes to articulating an offer or value to buyers, I think the off-market strategy is the biggest differentiator you can find. And this is where all of a sudden the value, the asset of your database that you have of homeowners becomes really valuable. So let's say, for example, Al calls me up. He wants to buy a house. He's looking in Bay Village. I've got probably 2,000 homeowners in my database that are actively engaging with these home value emails, that are looking at our communications, the way we're marketing with them. So then what I do is I say, tell me more about what you're looking for. And so I go into Fello, and he says, I'm looking between $500,000 and $1 million. So I carve out everyone that's within $500,000 to $1 million. And then what I do is I start saying, well, let's become really intentional, because we still have 500 homeowners. Let's see the people that don't have a mortgage on their property or have over a 5% interest rate, because it's more likely that they're going to sell than someone with a 3%. And let's find people that have been in their home for over 10 years or 15 years or 20 years. So what I'm doing is we're sitting down with buyers, and we're actually leveraging the asset of all the homeowners in our database and showing them who else is become this intentional about finding homeowners for you. We're going to start communicating with them, letting them know that we have great buyers that are ready to go, and would they be open to having a conversation off market. And so when you can sit down and actually show a buyer, not just tell them that you're going to find them off market, right, and show them actual homeowners that are engaging, that are actively clicking on their home value dashboard, that have maybe raised their hand before, all of a sudden the buyer is going to get a lot more excited about all of these opportunities that they can't find on Zillow or realtor.com. And then I'm going to ask them, I'm curious, I know you're probably going to talk to other buyers agents. This is a large investment you're going to make. Of the ones you've talked to, how many of them have gone this deep into helping you or showing you some of the off-market opportunities that we have access to? And we already know what that answer is, right? They're going to be like, no one even mentioned off-market opportunities, let alone already starting to carve out people in their database that they think would be a good fit, and then creating some sort of like showing them, here's how we market to them once we know. We'll put letters in their mailboxes. We'll even door knock if we have to. We'll reach out to them. But these people have already seen our brand because they're engaging with our marketing, right? They've already raised their hands in some capacity because they've been requesting their home value or requested a cash offer at one point in time. It's a much higher likelihood that they would be open to having a conversation versus me just, random putting envelopes in people's mailboxes. So I think that off-market, if you do not have an off-market strategy and you really want to compete as a buyer's agent right now, I think that needs to be your biggest priority, because you can offer, we do other programs like, if you don't love it, we'll list it for free, love it or leave it. That stuff doesn't move the needle enough in a competitive market. You need to be able to actually show them, give them something that they feel like they have exclusivity to, give them something that they feel really special about, like that no one else is doing, that they can brag to their friends about, we're getting into these off-market properties. And I think you'll see the needle will move. The Young Team sells about 20% of our inventory off-market every year. And we're really intentional with this. It just so happens that now we're articulating it more because we need to provide and articulate our value to the buyer. But this is just something we've always done. And really, we've done it because we're really looking and mining for sellers when we're marketing the buyers that we're working with, which end up converting more listings out of it. But now we're just going super deep in it.
Brilliant.
Love it.
That's awesome, man. So
if there isn't an off-market strategy for agents that are considering, that agents are insecure about articulating their value, that is their number one priority and responsibility right now, is to start building a database of homeowners and really start becoming intentional with that strategy on how to get in front of them.
Dude, I love it. Yeah.
It also goes, I mean, what are you seeing with because you're consistently going to that database with buyers looking for homes, how is that impacting the number of sellers that are coming back and coming to you to list properties?
Crazy. I mean, it's like one of the what's interesting is of the off-market property that we show or we even send to the agent, I'd probably say there's less than a 20% chance that they actually end up buying that home. Here's the best part about it. The majority of sellers that are like, yeah, I'd be open to it. Well, a lot of times after you show their house once, or even you start planting the seed of like, here's what's going on. We've got reload buyers, or these buyers just sold their house, or whatever it is. As soon as they commit to it and they start saying, I'd be open to it, what's so interesting is the amount of sellers that actually come back to you and are like, look, we can't stop thinking about now moving. Like, and it's like, it's planting that seed. And don't do it disingenuously, right? Like, they're like, the intention is not to do a bait and switch. Get every buyer, though, should be an opportunity to start marketing that buyer to sellers in your database. And what will happen is organically, they'll come back to you and they'll appreciate that you're being proactive and creative and trying to find them opportunities that other agents aren't doing as well. So it's like, it's just this is what we built our business off of. We're about 60% listing based. We're not a flex team. We don't have Zillow leads. We don't have realtor.com leads. We built it off of leveraging buyers that we have to go and, find homeowners. And then we go and basically market to those homeowners. And then every new listing is an opportunity to market to buyers, and every new buyer is an opportunity to market to potential sellers, right? And if you're not playing this like marketplace game internally, you're missing out on a lot of profit a lot of margin in your business, because that means you're relying on third-party sources to continue to build your business. It's a much more entrepreneurial way to scale your real estate team, and it's a much more profitable way to do so.
Agreed.
I love it. I love it. So, talking kind of, realigning services, obviously, kind of creating, and maybe, shift a little bit here to a lot of, more seasoned agents, more successful agents, everybody, definition of success, maybe been in the game for long enough, have a big team, being able to kind of get out of production as much as possible. And, I've always been kind of the belief within real estate, for most people to truly get all the way out of production and still running their team, they've moved on to something else, right? There's another opportunity, right? So like with Al escaping production, he had appointments today in the beginning, right? So he had something else that he was in pursuit of. Cuz no different, right? With coaching organization, with KR and working with Mikey and all of that. So like understanding with a lot of agents that get to a point, they try to create a product or a service as a value add, as a hook either for a business opportunity or recruiting or whatever the case may be. Like kind of talk about that product creation when you guys started to come up with Fello, because, I think that's where a lot of agents kind of get in trouble, is that they let go of the monkey bars that's really feeding them and serving them so well to go chase another endeavor, and then they got to get sucked back over, right? I mean, Cuz did it. Took us 3 times out of production because he had to go back and not let go of the golden goose that was funding and feeding everything. So I think it's really important to understand that transition. I would love for you to kind of talk about how you were able to kind of transition, get Fello up and going, as a lot of agents are out there. I mean, they're thinking about that, entrepreneurial, right? They're just thinking, hey, dude, I got a product here. I got something here. But I think, hearing it from your perspective would be really beneficial for them.
Well, it's funny, just really quick. I emailed Gary Keller a couple weeks ago, and I said, you wrote The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, which was kind of the Bible, for so many agents. But I'm like, what's the billionaire entrepreneur playbook? And I'm like, so many of us agents, like 7 figures in this industry is like deemed as like the ceiling. It's like, how many real estate owners do we know that own teams, brokerages, et cetera, are netting 8 figures? Like, unfortunately, there's just somewhat of a limitation, right, on what we can do and scale with this business. So I think there's, and if I would have known that, I don't think I really got into real estate because I was so passionate about helping people buy and sell homes, or because I love architecture and design, whatever it is. I got into it because my parents were agents and I was an idiot. And when I was 26, I lived in Vegas and I needed to come home, and I got my real estate license. It took me 2 weeks and a crammer course. And next thing you know, I was like ready to sell houses. And then I became really competitive and then fell in love with growing a business, scaling, et cetera. And I say all this because I think a lot of times people start building a new business for 2 different reasons. Either they become really complacent and bored with real estate, right? Or they get to a point where they feel like there's some financial limitations to how big we can scale versus the type of effort it costs or requires to actually, for what the upside is, right? And so the first piece is let's just say complacency. I think a lot of people start playing around with all these other things because they just are, it's just become monotonous and redundant, and it's the same thing year over year over year. And we just get bored. This is just the nature, the genetic makeup of a lot of us, right? And a lot of times those end up failing because if you're building something just to try something else, a lot of times your core business ends up suffering. And then all of a sudden, there really isn't true passion behind whatever else you're building. You just want to do something else. The second reason I would say is because you're looking for financial upside and you're just saying there's some limitations here. Whatever the reasons are, though, I think what's most important is if you're going to venture off and do something else, I think it needs to feed off of your core competency of whatever your business is, and your business needs to benefit from it. Okay. Yep. So, and I'll tell you what I mean. So whether you're trying to do this because you're complacent in where you are in business and you just want to start trying new things, or you want to make more money, one of those two or both, your core business needs to benefit. It needs to make your core business better. And so this is how it happened for me. We started the guaranteed sale program in 2015, full disclosure. And I've said this on big stages before. I didn't really have a lot of cash to even buy my first house, but I just joined Raid and I was like, this is what all the people in Raid are doing. I should just do the guaranteed sale. Fast forward 4 years later, I finally got my first person that really challenged me into buying my first house. They basically said, make me an offer. And I said, that's not how it works. I only buy them if I can't sell them. And he kept saying, make me an offer, make me an offer. And I kept saying, dude, like, let's just list it. We'll sell it for a lot more money. Finally, I made him an offer for him just to shut up. And he said, I'll take it. And I'm like, what do you mean you would take it? Like, we could sell it for so much more money on market. And so all of a sudden, then I'm like, wait a minute, like, why would I do this? And then I realized that like some people have different priorities or goals. And so then I started really leaning into the cash offer. And I'm like, wow, this is like the margins on this are massive, way more, 10x more than what I would have made from a commission. So let's start buying houses. So from 2019 to 2021, I started like getting obsessed with acquiring homes, right? But what was nice about it was a benefit to my core business, the Young Team, because we started doing, the Young Team cash offer program. We started marketing it. It drove a lot of seller leads. So my team was benefiting. Well, then we realized that we needed to insulate our team because that business was getting big. So we turned it into Flash House, which was, buy your home in a flash, sell your home in a flash, whatever. So once again, two businesses, but both supporting each other. Anyone that came into Flash House, now by this time, we were going 6 figures in marketing, going direct to consumer. We're buying about 15 to 20 homes a month. It was a 7-figure net business. It was a great business, right? But anyone that wasn't selling us their homes, those leads would directly go to the Young Team. So once again, we're building something, but it supports our core competency, which was the Young Team. Well, then what happened was we started to actually see people from the Young Team's database requesting offers directly from flashhouse.com. They didn't know that I owned Flash House. It was completely insulated. And so now I started getting pissed and saying, wait a minute, what's happening? I have past clients from the Young Team that are actually going to Flash House directly, whether they're getting our postcards, going to our paid ads. They don't even know I own this. That means if they're going to Flash House, they might be going to other places as well. We need to solve this problem for the Young Team. So we said, what if we start marketing to the Young Team's database that we've partnered with Flash House and we can get you a cash offer through them so that they're coming through the Young Team. And so that led into all of a sudden the first, we were the first agent-led iBuyer with Fello, but then we realized that Fello doesn't really scale operationally from buying houses, but the marketing component, the software does. So let's actually provide the software that the Young Team was using to market to our database to get all these cash offers and to create all this seller engagement. And let's take it, basically throughout the country. And I tell you that story because like each thing we were building was one building block off of another, but the Young Team continued to benefit the entire journey. And it wouldn't have been possible. It wouldn't have been possible if the Young Team didn't benefit. So if you're thinking about building something else, make sure that your core competency, your core foundational business benefits from it. It is so much more likely that you will succeed. And not only that, but you can also market the success that your business had from that. Like when you think of like, product market fit. And so it's just, I think if you're just trying to start throwing shit at a wall and see what works, a lot of times it doesn't stick. If your team's using it and your team benefits from it and it enhances your core competency, I think you'll see you have a lot better chance of actually scaling something big.
Yeah, that's great. I love you sharing that story. It's so spot on.
I don't know if that makes any sense. Your guys' faces are all frozen.
Yeah, no, it's we're nodding it because
my gosh, yes,
it really does.
You probably saved thousands of agents millions of dollars in startups now that they won't they're going to think twice about it anyway. So
yeah, it's what you and I, Al, in Detroit a couple of weeks ago, right? We were sitting talking about it. It's just like I truly believe, teams of the future, everything that they do, the core business is going to unlock so many opportunities, and then they've got to make sure that those opportunities align because of the core business is feeding and supporting those other opportunities. So it's really cool to hear kind of the thought process and the do's and don'ts, 100%. But also the story of going through that. Really, really cool.
Awesome. Well, hey, man, Ryan, I appreciate you jumping on with us. And I know you're a super busy guy running multiple 7-figure
100%.
businesses and, or maybe 8-figure now, who knows? Fellow's growing like wildfire over there. But I'm really appreciative and grateful, not just that you joined us today, but that you're supporting the Agent to CEO mission. I mean, I think that, as we evolve as agents from a solo agent to maybe growing a small team, and eventually, we have to start to put the CEO hat on and understand the dynamics, the financials, all of the things, the marketing plan, and be able to execute on a strategic plan. And those are things that are not taught in real estate school. We kind of have to, we're all on our own trying to figure those things out. So I appreciate your support on the event. I'm excited to hang out with you at Gary LaVox and have some fun with our industry friends. These two guys are going to be there. We got Leo Pareja, our CEO, is going to be coming in, and we got a star-studded group that we're going to be presenting. So we look like we might have lost Ryan on some Puerto Rican internet there.
I'm telling you, Texas internet is worse than Puerto Rico.
It is. I can second that. Yeah. I'm working off my phone today, so that should just tell you.
Oh wow! There you go. All right,
good stuff, guys. Fantastic call again, and really the true essence of what the whole one big fire movement is really about, right? We all have great flames, great fires, but coming together is really where the magic and the power really happens.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, Ryan. Thanks, Jay.
Yeah,
John.
sorry if I dropped off there. Appreciate you guys, and stoked about just all that you're doing. And real quick, just to piggyback off of what I was saying before I cut out there, you guys are a testament to everything that I just said of like the way you use your core competency. I mean, think of like, your businesses that turned into coaching, that turned into different multiple products, that turned into, this right here. It's like, I think that is, I think you guys are a testament to like leveraging something really strong foundationally to build off of and create additional opportunities. And I think that too many people try to build the next thing before foundationally their core competency is there, and it's like they're so eager that it's like, then what happens is that's already weak. So then their core competency breaks, and then everything is diluted, and then you just, it never sticks. And then all of a sudden they don't understand why it didn't work. And so I know kind of piggyback on that a little bit later, but it's like one of those things, like foundationally make sure your core competency is a pillar. And then from there, everything else is so much easier to build off of it.
100%, man. I mean, literally spot on. So yeah, it's so important. What you're saying is so critically important, to be vectored in alignment, because you have a limited amount of resources. And what happens, I think, for a lot of us that get to this higher level, is a lot of opportunities come your way, more opportunities. And you have to run them through a filter of, is this in alignment? Is this going to help me better what my core competency is, as you said? And is it going to be in alignment? Am I getting and making things better for my team? And then that evidence of that is what allows you to scale what you're doing, that's in alignment. And so super important. It was something that was a core value of ours, was like, if we weren't using it, you couldn't sponsor our event. You couldn't come to our event. We weren't going to talk about it from stage. We had to have been using it and had success with it, or someone that we knew had to have a high level of success and endorse it before we would ever even let people in the room. And I think that was, something people came to appreciate about what we were doing.
Well, and two things to that really quick. Think of just what we initially started talking about seller marketing and the success and social proof and stuff like that. It's the same thing. Like, buyers want to buy from someone, buyers of product, consumers want to buy from someone that they trust, right? And so the more you can establish trust, just like, what you said about establishing trust because you use the product, it works, right? Here's the crazy thing is, although Fello is only 2 years young, it's grown so fast that now we're at the place with Fello as our core competency. And we're now starting to go through this ideation of like, what's next from Fello? Is it adjacent verticals? And so it's like, we keep bringing ourselves back to the core competency of like, we want to continue to make sure we're investing in the pillar of what's gotten us to be Fello before we dilute and start building off. So what's so interesting is, while the young team was originally the pillar, the foundation to Fello, now Fello has obviously grown to a place where we've seen such consistency and such predictability into the growth of the business that we're now having these type of conversations of like, what's next. And as you guys can appreciate, when you look at, total addressable market or TAM in the real estate industry, there's only so many agents. And when I talked about, real estate businesses being 7-figure businesses, well, Fello is an 8-figure recurring revenue business. And it's like, if we stay within the real estate industry, that's probably the lane that we'll stick in, versus if we start adding adjacent verticals, how can we get into 9 figures in recurring revenue? And so I say that because like, it's the same problem. It's bigger scale from where my real estate team was, but it's the same concept. It's like, how can we build things? And the reason why we're talking mortgage next is because we feel like mortgage actually supports agents. And and they can lean off of each other. So for example, we're moving into a co-marketing module so that agents can bring their lenders in, which can reduce down the agent's expense on Fello. Then we have lenders on our platform. We can start building a product that empowers lenders to start getting more out of their database. Once again, they lean on each other to both provide each other provide each other value. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. If we immediately just went into auto, well, there's no synergies between the existing product, the core product that we built. So it's like, how do we build off of each other to make them both better?
Yep.
Yeah.
Love that.
So good stuff. Awesome, brother. Appreciate you. Appreciate you guys, and can't wait to run this back and do it again.
Yeah, man. If you guys need anything, holler at me.
You got it, man. Appreciate you.
Later. See ya.
Awesome. See you guys. See ya.